Welcome back to another episode of the GSD Show. I'm your host, Mike Arce, and in today's episode, I was a guest on a podcast called Sweat Success with host Michael Benso, where we dove into personal growth and business development. And I talked about how we made our GSDCon event stand out, how our program at loudrumor is designed to empower individuals with strategies, enabling you to tackle problems creatively and make informed decisions that drive your business forward. We'll explore resilience in business ownership and why taking notes matters. Plus, learn how our comp structure for gym studio managers can make you a six-figure earner. So if you want insights on leadership, growth strategies, and creating a thriving fitness franchise, stick around. And remember, it's not just about being good, it's about being the best. All right, let's get started.
All right, so you all know him, the coach of coaches, okay, from humble beginnings to the top of the game. And he's not just the owner of loudrumor, where, of course, the best gyms go to grow, but also the esteemed host and founder of GSDCon. And I had the opportunity, and had the privilege to be there recently. He has an expertise that's born from real experience. It's not just casting a wide net, trying to grab people. He was there at one point, and then he narrowed it down. But he himself has gyms. Okay, this is a man who walks the walk, talks the talk. So it's a pleasure to welcome back my good friend, Mike Arce. Mike.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us.
Michael, appreciate being on here again. And good seeing you about a week or two ago at our event.
Yeah, I loved it, man. I learned so much being there. And it wasn't just the learning that I took away from those that were there and the those who got on stage and talked just like yourself and a lot of others, but it was kind of introspective, right? I was like looking internally on things because we had those moments where we'd sit down and be quiet and really think through stuff. So it was super helpful. I really enjoyed it.
You know, I worked really hard to make our event different. One of the things I saw that I think actually hurts business owners, gym owners, is they teach you how to do things. They give you the answer, but they don't teach you how to come up with the answer. And sometimes a customer just needs the answer, right? Sometimes that is the best thing to do is, okay, just go do this. Right. This works. And this will fix it. But more often than not, they don't need the answer. They need to know how to problem solve themselves. And if we could teach them how to think, they naturally become better business owners, and they could solve thousands of problems, as opposed to like, all right, what do I do when this happens? What do I do when that happens? It's an exhausting way to learn and grow. And so what we really focus on, hey, this is what you're going through. Why do you think you're going through it? Where is this? What would happen if this was the only thing you could do to grow your business? How would you look at it if somebody else was a step into your shoes? And it's interesting when you teach someone how to think, every time I see them at an event, they're smarter, like significantly smarter than the last time I saw them, because they used that way of thinking and they applied it to so many other things and they started understanding it. So I actually, by the time someone's 2-3 years into our program, I'm learning as much from them, if not more, from some of them than they are from us, which is one of the coolest things about what I think we're building at loudrumor.
Well, I think it's synonymous with, I'm really playing this down a bit to what you guys are doing, but synonymous, as a coach, as a personal trainer, with teaching their clients how to train, how to have the strength variable or the hypertrophy variable, the power variable, how they go through this progression and how they can train their muscles differently or how they might need to eat differently. Every client wants the magic pill, and you're not teaching them anything when you do that. So I think what, the parallel that I draw from what you're doing is so valuable, because I came there and my intention was to be a spectator, and I came in and I was like listening to the talks, really getting engaged with everyone, and the takeaways, it was phenomenal. I mean, I really commend you for what you're doing.
I was right there taking notes.
Yeah, I saw you. So was I.
Yeah, when Vern Harnish was speaking, I was taking notes. When I was up on stage with my mentor for that fireside chat, I had to ask someone for a piece of paper and a pen because I didn't want to forget the principle he just shared with me. I thought it was so good. So no, I appreciate it. I mean, I go with the funny thing is I go in there with the intention always to like give the best experience. And then somehow I'm getting the best experience taking notes and learning from some of the people on stage as well. So yeah, I'm glad you got that. And I think we're doing it right. And it's exciting because everybody wants that magic pill, like you said. But the problem with that is number one, it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
exist. Let's face it, it doesn't exist. And number two, when you have the magic pill, you have these big roller coaster rides. But when you have like a real foundation that you keep building upon, that's why we track everything because magic pill is fake. It doesn't really work
It's
anyway.
temporary.
So no, and so we avoid anything that even looks like it, anything that smells like it. We stay away from it because it doesn't follow the key principles of building really good businesses, and that's why we're where the best gyms go to grow. Not only are they there becoming the best, but honestly, a lot of them come in already the best, and they just want to be around people that are like that too.
Yeah, I don't can't remember if it was you or someone else who said this, but it was someone was talking and they were taking notes on the person who was speaking, and then they said, "Well, the reason why I take notes, I think it was you, is because you're always learning. It's like reading a book and then reading it over again, and then you pick something else out of it, and you go, oh, yeah, that's." And it's no different than watching a movie. I've seen probably uh, plenty of movies more than once, and when I watch them, there's something else that I pick out. Like what's the man? I'm thinking It's a
Well,
Wonderful Life. I was going to say It's a Good Life. It's a Wonderful Life. Right. Every time I watch that movie, every holiday season, I see something different in the movie, and
yep,
it's the same thing with the principles that you learn from someone that's teaching a course or a class. And it's the same when you're going through the process of reading a book. You got to read the book again. You pick something else out. So uh, I saw that while I was there, and like I said, I mean, it
yeah.
was it was a fantastic event. You guys really do a great job.
It was actually my mentor, one of my mentors, but the one that was on stage, Jay Berg, he's the one that said
Oh,
that.
that's right.
He was taking notes at my event,
Yeah, that's right.
and I'm right there next to
Yeah.
him, taking notes. Right? Yeah, there's a lot of smart stuff being shared in the room. It's great.
So today I want to, we talked about it a little bit before we got on here because I wanted to make sure I had your consent to do this. But I want to dive into something that I think is invaluable, and it's really that leap to business ownership. It's a little daunting. A lot of people fall short. Oftentimes they're kind of too far over their toes, or they overreach before they know it. They're kind of tumbling down. And I frequently hear, you probably frequently hear too, those who've fallen, they've risen again. Okay, they're the phoenix, and it's that resilience that's ingrained in them. That's that habit of perseverance, where they learn from their errors. That really sets them apart from a lot of the others out there. But what I wanted to do was kind of uncover the missteps that maybe you've had in your own life. Okay, and really pinpoint something maybe in business, um,
Hmm.
maybe a lesson that you've learned that you realize never to repeat again because it was a painful approach to something. Um, but that's where I see there's a true value of a coach, right? At the very least, a
Hmm.
mentor who becomes
Hmm.
it becomes apparent because there's a tangible difference to me. There's a tangible difference between having a professional coach, which I see you as, or a buddy or a mentor who just kind of acts as a sounding board. To me, a coach is someone who brings an action plan, strategies, the tactics. They break the stuff down and they push past plateaus. They have like an organized nature about stuff. Like here's a perfect example. Right, I've got your GSD con stuff here. Yeah, and you've got repeatable steps and techniques to scale. I think a buddy or a mentor, even though they're good to have, uh, maybe it's not always systematized, right? It's kind of like in their brain. They got to brush off some stuff, might take some digging to unearth it to get the right solution to your problem. And, if I were to think about it, it's kind of like my dad. He's got a garage full of tools. And if we go get a tool, it's there somewhere, takes time to find it, hope it's not rusty. But with a coach, like a mechanic, tools are clean, orderly, it's ready to go. So I know I'm kind of like going on here, but I just want to like preface this because I know everyone's had a low point, whether it's business or personal life. And I just want to know what it was for you. What was the lowest point in your business career? What happened? How did you like get in that position? And then more importantly, how did you get out of it?
I haven't had any one that stands out as like the worst. I've had many worses, and they're just different categories. I've had a worse where I found out that I owed, and I had no money. I had $75,000 in payroll tax
Hmm.
debt that my bookkeeper messed up on. That was a low point. I literally threw up
Did you
finding
did you
out.
fire your bookkeeper? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, we had to. I mean, and we had to hire someone to help clean it up. And we had no money. Like we were broke. I had $400 or $500 in savings, and I found out we owed 75,000 with a very high interest. Um, and it was around July, and our monthly revenue might have been around 25, 30,000 a month at the time. And I mean, we were just starting out, and I think my profit was break even. And I made a commitment to getting it done by the end of the year, which gave me 6 months to do what I hadn't been able to do in 3 years. And on December 31st, I literally paid the last cent off of that payroll tax debt. Now, keep in mind, that doesn't mean I came up with
Mm-hmm.
75,000. That means I came up with like 85,
Right.
86,000 because of the
Right.
interest. With
The
interest,
penalties.
always pay your payroll taxes. And I always wanted to. I didn't know my bookkeeper wasn't.
Right.
So, um, but yeah, that was a very tough time. Another time was leadership, where I lost a third of my staff, maybe a little bit more. I think it might have been more in like 3 weeks.
Wow.
Just like lost almost everyone. That sucked.
Can I
Um,
ask what businesses were those that like the
Same one, same company. I mean, same brand. It feels like different businesses. They
Mhm.
feel like different eras to the point where they're different companies, but same company. Loudrumor in its early days had that money issue. We were struggling for a while, wanted to find our way and figure it out. I was very novice to principles, like you were speaking about earlier. And then with people and culture, the thing that I learned on that one was that there's different levels of leadership. So, if you're the captain of a basketball team, there's things that you can do. You can slap other guys on the ass and you can pull them by the
Mhm.
jersey. You can, get in their face. You could tell them they're doing a bad job, right? You could tell them to step up because you got the sweat pouring from your face too. When you're the coach, you can't do that to the extreme. You get close, but you can't get as extreme. When you're the general manager, you can't even talk to the players during the game, right? Like you go to the coach, but you really overstep
Mhm.
getting to a player and telling him what he needs to be doing out there, right? And if you're the owner, you definitely can't do it, and you have to be careful with what you say to the coach, right? Because you don't really have all that on floor understanding of what's happening, right? There's a lot of stuff that you're not privy to, and so there's different levels of leadership that are need to be unlocked. And so you may be good enough to get there, but you're not good enough to get to the next spot unless you now understand, like, okay, these are the new rules of the new level of leadership. And right now I'm in another new level, and I am not good enough at this moment to get us to where I need to go. But I'm understanding of what's necessary, and so that I told you right before the call, I've got 6 different coaches I work with. Um, each one's a different specialty, different thing that I have to know, because you have to understand finance at a different level to get to the next level. You have to understand hiring, recruiting people at a different level. You have to understand marketing and sales at a different level,
So what
operations
type
and
of coaches
systems.
do you have? Because I'm curious on that one. Like,
Most of them are CEO coaches with an emphasis in a particular area. So, like one of my coaches, he's a CEO coach. He's grown 2 businesses to over. He publicly sold 2 businesses. One was a billion, a little over a billion. The other one was a little over 1.5 billion. He was a CEO of both of them, and the CEO, and at one point the COO of the other. So he really focuses with me on how to build the valuation of the business,
Mm.
how to make the business more valuable, right? Which that guy knows how to do it. I've got another guy that grew exponentially fast through marketing. And so he is my CEO coach, but focused on marketing. The reason I say CEO coach focused on marketing as opposed to a marketing coach is if I get a marketing coach, I'm going to learn how to be a marketing guy. I can't be the marketing guy because I've got marketing people on my team.
Right.
I've got to be the CEO of a team that's got a good marketing strategy and make sure that I'm picking the right people for that. Um, I've got one specifically for money, and he specializes in acquisitions because I think the next thing for us is we're probably going to start acquiring some other businesses. We've already started the process with a couple other sections of it, but yeah, that's going to be probably another step for us is mergers and acquisitions.
Which also increases your valuation.
Yeah, yeah, of course. And so those two, I learned from them. I've got another one that's really great at compensation. Getting the comp wrong when you have 5 to 10 employees isn't that big of a deal at all. Getting the comp wrong when you have 15 to 25, still not as big of a deal. Getting the comp wrong when you have 50 to 100 employees, you have several people in one position, many people in one position for some positions. And so you get it wrong once, you get it wrong in a lot of places, and that can trickle. And so getting the comp right is another thing. And he literally is an expert in compensation. That's his thing. And he's incredible at it. So all these different coaches, they're all CEO coaches, but with a specialty in this is how they grew. This is what they were known for among their peers. It's what they know very, 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 very well.
So you hit on something, and that this is actually a perfect segue because what I wanted to do was give you I want to be I want to step in the shoes of the listeners, right? And most of them are gym owners, and they grapple with similar ideas or similar concepts. So you're familiar, obviously, with Marcus Lemonis and his mantra of the 3 Ps.
I actually am. I was just talking to him 2 days ago.
Oh, perfect. All right. So he has, the show The Prophet. Peter McLean, okay, rings the same kind of bell. Uh, it's people, product, and process. And the tune hits home for me, okay, because as a gym owner, a lot of these people are go-getters. They want to get out there. They want to grow. And maybe their business is booming. Maybe they're on the upside, but typically the rub is kind of like the people in the space. And it could be people because they don't get along, or those people are, you talked about, coaches and general managers and talking about sports teams. Maybe they're not in the right position. Or maybe they hired their buddy because their buddy seemed like they could fit that role.
There's a lot of reason it could be people.
Yeah.
And so these are the steps. It's, do you have the right people,
Mm-hmm.
meaning culturally, doing the right things, meaning the things that they're focusing on are the biggest needle moving things for the company, right? They matter the most, right? So the right people doing the right things right, meaning they've got the skill, they know how to do it well, right? So do you have the right people doing the right things right? If you don't have the right people doing the right things right, well, then you have a problem. Now, you could have the right people doing the right things wrong. You could have the right people doing the wrong things right. You could have the wrong people doing the right things right. Right? There's a combination of it. But if you don't have the right people doing the right things right, there's going to be something messed up somewhere, and it's ever evolving. Somebody might have been the right person doing the right thing right a year ago, but now the culture might have shifted to where we're more focused on this. This is who we are. And they're not the right person anymore because they haven't grown with us culturally that way. Also, the right thing might have changed. And so the thing that they were working on that was the most important thing for the company at the time, they were the right person for that. But now that's not the most important thing anymore. Now what our company needs is this, and they're not the right thing for that anymore. And right, well, like we talked about with leadership, same thing goes with marketing or finance. What was right then might not be right anymore. Now we have a different level of thinking that's required to get that part right. So same thing goes with gyms, right? Like the studio manager that got you from pre-sale to 25K. may not be the one that gets you to 60K. And the one that gets you to 60 may not be the one that gets you to 100. And the one that gets you at 100K a month may not be the one that'll help you get 3 studios. And that guy may not help you get 25, right? So yeah, depending on the levels that you're at, we might outgrow people if they don't grow with us.
That's super important. And I think to that end, I want to throw something else in here. So some of these locations, a lot of times what they do is they'll hire somebody and they'll either just put them on a flat salary or they'll put them on hourly. And there's no commissionables, there's no bonuses, there's no targets to hit. So, from my perspective, it's let's find the needle movers. Let's figure out how production can be ramped up and let's pay on that production or let's pay on those needle movers. How do you advise those that you're coaching on how they need to compensate their staff? And let's just assume it's just a membership based club. There's nothing special about it. It's just memberships that they're selling.
Yeah, I think there's many ways to do a lot of things. There's many ways to get in great shape. There's many ways to raise good kids, and there's many ways to compensate. There's not one right way to do it. There's definitely wrong ways to do it. I do think that having flat rates across the board with no KPIs is a wrong way, my perspective. No matter what your comp plan is, there needs to be KPIs for sure. And KPIs meaning key performance indicators, another fancy word for like metrics that we've decided are important for this role to hit in order for us to get to where we need to go. So, the studio manager's number one KPI should always be revenue. That is their number one KPI, getting that revenue to move up. Now you can give them like 10 other things if you want to. I think it's too much. I think like 1 to 5, 5 is max, 3 is probably ideal. But there's one main one, and all the other ones kind of drive up to that. So, for example, keeping the attrition, the churn, how many members you lose on a monthly basis, keeping that below 6%. That might be one of your KPIs. But why is that a KPI? Because if you keep your churn low, it's easier to add more members as opposed to just replacing members. Therefore, the revenue goes up. Another one might be generating a minimum of 30 appointments per week, right? We need 30 new appointments per week. Well, that's great, but that KPI leads to more revenue because the more appointments we have, the more show, the more close, and the more members that buy, right, and spend money with us. So you can have some supporting KPIs, but ultimately the number one metric for a studio manager should be revenue. And I believe my perspective is to compensate in accordance to that target, and you incentivize. So in like Texas, for example, we are, by the way, if anyone is looking, we're looking for a new studio manager here. We currently have one that's my operating partner as we just opened it in July. So he's been the manager as we're ramping up. And now we're at the point we hit our trigger where it's like, okay, let's replace him and let's get an actual manager that's not an owner, right? So we're looking for a manager there, but that manager is going to make, now a lot of people are going to be shocked when they hear this, they're going to make 6 figures at this gym. Now, keep in mind, this gym is probably never going to do more than $52,000 to $62,000 a month in revenue, right? Probably around 60. But they'll make 6 figures there. That means I'm giving them a good chunk of the revenue. But their job is to get it there, and they're not making that until they get there. So there's a base that will pay, and then there's a share of the success, and they get bonused every month as a share of that growth. And so they're really incentivized to get that number up there. And then they have numbers they have to hit on a monthly basis because they can't just sit there. Let's say they're comfortable making $75K a year. Well, just because you're comfortable there doesn't mean we're comfortable there. So we still need to climb. So you have to get to the point, as a manager at our company, you have to get to the point where you're making 6 figures, or you're probably not going to make it. So it's a requirement you make 6 figures at our company.
Is that typical? I've always heard, now this is, aside from a training, is this a studio, like a group studio?
Yes. Semi-private training studio. Correct.
So typically the percentage on payouts is higher in those scenarios, but generally 20 to 25% is kind of hitting the peak in most business types on payroll. So if you hit that mark, you're right. I mean, most people, if they heard it's a six figure and you guys are doing 50K in revenue, that's a
Right.
heavy piece of the pie.
Well, here's the thing. Here's why. Because we could only do in that model, this concept can't do 83,000 a month. Like mathematically, unless we raised our pricing past what I even consider reasonable. I mean, we're already going to be between 4 to 500 a month. So, we're not going to be able to really pass that 62K mark. Now, if we were able to get to 83K or 100K, like more than 90% of our members are able to do in their model, we could still compensate six figures and keep our overall labor budget under that 30% mark, right? Which is where we want to be. But ultimately, it's hard to stay under 20. You're right. 20 to 25% is what's tolerable for people doing probably 35, 40K or less. But as you start making more, not all the other expenses scale.
Right.
Your rent isn't going to scale. Your software expenses aren't going to scale. So there's so many things that won't continue to scale. So you can get your payroll to 30, 33%, maybe even 35% if it means you can be completely hands off and know that the business is doing great without you, because your other expenses will still not allow your overall expenses to reach higher than 70%. So if you're able to be at 30% with your payroll being 30%, who cares?
Mm-hmm. So that's when I'm thinking about this, because I'm going, all right, well, some of these guys, they run and operate a facility. They're on a flat model, right? They don't have these KPIs, and they're having a hard time making the adjustment. They're going, how do I adjust? I'm doing 30 to 40K a month in revenue. How do I adjust to now tell my team, hey, we're going to go to this model where you're going to get compensated for performance? And the immediate response from gym owners that are in those positions, they're going, I'm going to lose people. They're fearful they're going to just get people to leave. But the reality is most of those, again, this is just me like peering through a window, looking in, seeing this stuff happen. They're on their phones. They're not paying attention. They're letting other people try and pick up the trash, putting the blame game on somebody else. I mean, it's chaos.
And if you're losing that, you're not losing much. But here's the thing: it's sometimes you have people you don't want to lose, like they are really good. That comes down to you as a leader being good at storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be able to tell a really good story, and a story doesn't have to be false for it to be a story. A story could be true, right? There's many stories that I've been told and I tell that are true stories, every word, and they're great stories. And a story that you have to practice, and I say you, I mean somebody in that position
Right.
would have to practice, is the ability to demonstrate how this is actually a win for everyone. It's a win for the company, it's a win for the customers, it's a win for them. So if, let's say, they're on a base pay earning 50K a year or 45K a year as a manager, and we're now saying, hey, we're going to change the comp structure, we have to start saying why, and usually start with why. So you say, hey guys, we're really wanting to push and get to a place where we can help more people faster. Guys, we just shared, and you would usually follow storytelling. I just shared with you 6 incredible stories that demonstrate us living up to our vision at a very high level. Everything we say we set out to do, I just share with you it's happening, and we're doing it very well. What that means is we've gotten really, really good at the thing we promised the world we'd get good at. So now that we're here, there's only one left thing to do, is to go do it more. Go help more people more. How many of you guys agree with me, right? They'll agree.
Right.
And you say, the only way for us to do that is to do all the things that are necessary, that are required, and use all the tools that are available in order to position ourselves in front of enough people to show what we can do. And so I believe that in order to do that, I need to invest more as a business owner, which I'm confident in doing more now than ever because of you guys and what you've been doing. That means I'm going to invest more in technology. I'm going to invest more in research, and I'm going to invest more in you. I want to make it so that you guys all have the opportunity to earn more with this company, as we're inevitably going to do. So here's how we're going to do it. And then you tell the new comp structure and you show how when we grow, this is a better thing. Now we have to be able to do that. And by the way, that you don't wing it. You practice that in the mirror. Whatever you want to say, you write it down, and then because if you say it, it'll take you 30 minutes to say what I just said.
Right.
If you wing it, it'll take you too long. But if you write it, you'll be able to think, and you got it smaller, and then you tighten it, and next thing you know, you got this what would be a 30-minute speech wung. Now it's what took me 2 minutes,
Yeah.
right? Something like that to really do it. And now you can do it a lot better. But then you got to practice. You got it down to 2 minutes. Now you got to practice it. So you could say it with emotion. You could say it with energy. And then this way your team can hear the message the way it needs to be heard and not misinterpret and get lost in, some of the shuffle. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. If you guys are listening, I mean, at this point, you should be listening to this because these are key pieces that you should be taking away. And I want to drive into people, Mike, because I know that you have GSDCon people coming up, and this all kind of works together here from this conversation, driving into payment structure for your staff and how maybe they work within your facility. So how are you? Tell me what GSDCon people is about, and then I've got some questions on that related to it.
So I think the reason we started in the beginning of the year is because we truly believe it's the most important piece. If you're in a service-based model, which we are, we're all about experience. Mm-hmm. People don't need your gym to get in shape. They can get in shape in a billion ways. They can get in shape for free on YouTube. They can get in shape simply by just following life understoods, right? Like I understand, like most people understand, more fruits, more vegetables, less fast food, more water, better sleep, move more, right? Like everyone generally understands that, even though they may get the macros wrong and may work out wrong. If they do those things, they'll be in better shape. They have YouTube, they have Instagram, they have online coaches. They've gotten an enormous amount of gym opportunities, from the Planet Fitness for $10 and the EOS to the Lifetime Fitness to all the studios in between that offer all these things. There's an unlimited amount of options for your prospective members to choose from to get to their goal. So what is going to be the difference between you and them? Well, there's a few things. Number one is something that is unique to you. So if you have a thing that I just actually had a meeting with somebody who articulated this really well. His name is Nicholas Kuzmich. He was actually just on my podcast. It's going to launch probably next week or the week after. But he articulated as the category king. So when you think of streaming movies, you think of Netflix. Mm-hmm. When you think of search engine, you think of Google. When you think of AI bots, you think of ChatGPT, right? You think of videos, watching videos online, you think YouTube. Ride sharing, it's Uber. And when you think of heart rate monitor fitness studios, you think of Orange Theory, right? Like that's just what they became, a category king, which allowed them to be the most successful franchise in the industry when it comes to the success of their individual franchisees, and the majority of them being so, right? They were. Now, if you consider success the amount of locations, well, I could name a bunch of other franchises that have more locations, but they have a lot more failing franchisees in percentage. That's not a winning franchise to me. That just means you're a winning sales team on the franchise side. That's it. Orange Theory had that. So something unique would give you an edge, an advantage. But aside from that, it's your people. Because your people are creating that experience. You could have good people in heart, but bad people trained, meaning, man, that instructor over there talking to Susie is awesome. Look how much she cares about Susie. Look how much she's high-fiving. She just gave Susie a hug. No wonder Susie's been here for 5 years. However, does that make that instructor a good instructor? Well, to Susie, yes. But look at that other client over there that started 2 months ago and is still shy in the corner, doesn't know anyone. She's probably going to quit in a month. Why? because she's shy here and she's an outcast here, probably like she's an outcast in the rest of her life. And Susie is an extrovert here, just like she's probably an extrovert in the rest of her life. So Susie just got more of what she already gets anywhere else. And this one girl, you had an opportunity here. And instead of being a great host, a great concierge of experience, you're just going to the easy ones, the ones that are easy to talk to. The great instructor talks to everyone, makes sure everyone is included, and doesn't favor certain people just because they're more fun. They don't look for friends. They look for feelings. They look for the people that need to feel something, right? And feel better. So that, along with now the mission. Are they on board with the mission? Are they willing to do the work? Are they willing to adapt to change? Because there's going to be a lot of it, right? So if you don't have people right, I don't care how well you know finance, you're in trouble. I don't care how good you think you are at sales, you're in trouble. You could have great Facebook ads, you're in trouble. You could have a great workout, you're in trouble. People are too big of a part of the fitness industry, right? So that's number one. Now, the next question you ask is, what is GSDCom people? So we talk about people. Who are the right people? How do you know when they're right? What are the tools you can use to really know, not wonder, not be very strongly assumptive that they are, but you know that they're right. How do you recruit them? Once you recruit them, how do you interview them? How do you onboard them? How do you train them and develop them? How do you continuously move them up with a growth plan? How do you compensate them? How do you motivate and inspire them? So there's a lot of things that need to be done, and it's such a big part of your business that all these things need to be done. And our best gyms, in fact, most of them, even the ones that aren't considered our best, but they're so good, they bring their managers with them. They come with their managers.
I saw that when I was there.
Yeah, that's right. They brought, and the reason is because they know you've got to invest in your people. So yeah, they buy the plane ticket for them. They buy the hotel room for them. They're paying for the food while they're there. Because there's this really good quote, and it's true. And I don't know if it was a true story that was said or was just something that to help explain a concept. But the CFO says to the CEO, "Well, what if we invest in our people and then they leave?" And the CEO responds, "Well, what if we don't and they stay?" Right? So we're going to have people here anyway. Let's train them. Let's get them developed. And there's actually studies that prove that people that are invested in actually have a longer retention in the business. So it actually ties together.
So what would you tell the person who has that staff problem? You said I wouldn't, I'm not losing anything anyway, right? If they're flat rate and, all of a sudden you set KPIs and set performance metrics for them. What would you tell that gym owner that they need to do? Where do they need to start? How can they identify, basically go through a re-interview process with their staff so that way they have the right people on their team? Because otherwise it's chaos and it's a big mess. And
I'll tell you why that's a tough question to answer. Because when we work with a new client, we've got to understand who they are. Not everyone comes to us for the same reason, right? Just like with fitness, right? If you're a personal trainer, you have to get somebody in the best shape of their life. Not everyone's coming to you with the same injuries. Not everyone's coming to you with the same food allergies. Not everyone's coming to you with the same foundation. Everyone's coming to you different. So there's a lot of questions to be asked, but what I can tell you is the main principles that they have to have in place. Okay. And these are some of the things we look for. So number one, how are they at storytelling? Because if you can't get your people to follow along to your mission, your vision of where this company's going, it's all about money. It's going to be about money. It's not going to be about anything else. That's number one.
You mean the people will believe that it's just about money?
No, your people will be just about money.
Okay.
It's about their paycheck. Mm-hmm. If they get paid more somewhere else, they're out.
Right.
Yeah. And maybe that too, actually. Yeah. The next thing is your financial literacy. If you don't understand that accounting is the language of business, just like Italian is the language of Italy, well, you're not going to survive in the country very long. You're always going to be like stressed, right? Imagine not knowing Italian and living in Italy. Mm-hmm. How stressful? How much longer does it take for you to do things, right? It's hard. How many times are you misunderstood? Well, with business, a lot of people, entrepreneurs, they shy away from accounting because it's hard. I'm not a math person. No, I'm an idea guy. Well, hey, idea guy, that's great. Idea guy will get you here, but financial literacy will take you to the next level. And if we don't have financial literacy, we're not going to be able to budget appropriately for labor, for marketing. We're not going to be able to compensate effectively so that we know how to actually pay people. We're not going to be able to distribute those funds accordingly. So we know, okay, now we can unlock, there's a trigger that came in place. We can unlock some other tools, some other venues that we can start running ads in, whether it's M&A, acquiring, anything like that. You need to understand financial literacy. By the time you're like at 20K, you need to be starting it. If you're already doing 20K a month in revenue and you're not studying financial literacy or like being a part of a program like ours where we explain it and you can understand just know these things and we're safe, then it's going to be hard. So we've got to be really good at that. So we got storytelling, and then we got financial literacy, and the next one is systems. So we've got to be good at creating systems. It shouldn't stay up here. If it stays up here and you're up here, then they got to go to you every time they need something. Even if you could empower them, you probably shouldn't, because they're going to do it wrong and it's going to cost you time and money because your system's documented up here. Great people don't run a good company. Great systems run a good company, and great people run those great systems. There's got to be great plays. You take, and actually we saw this, the Dream Team, which was like arguably the greatest team of all time. They lost to a college team. Did you hear about this?
No, I missed this.
So before, I think, their first game in Barcelona, this is a team with Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Charles Barkley, all those guys. They met up and they played a college team.
What year was this? It's had to be in
92.
Okay, I was going to say 92. The 90s. Yeah.
Yep. 92. They played a college team, their first time playing together, and they got whipped. A college team. Michael Jordan's better than everyone on that team. Magic Johnson's better than everyone on that team. In fact, everyone on the Dream Team is better than everyone on that team. The only advantage that the college team had that the Dream Team didn't have is an understanding of plays. We have these plays. We run them. We know how to run them. We run them together. We run them effectively. This is how they work. The Dream Team, they all come from all different teams. So they don't have a unified system of plays. And so they're good people, great people, couldn't beat a good team because a good team had great plays and they ran it. Make sense?
So at GSDCon people, are you guys, I mean, back to people, process, and product, you guys are covering essentially people and process because your systems are part of the process, or is that separate?
Yeah, we start the conversation in strategy. So like you saw the meeting rhythms and the KPI scoring and all that. So we start the process in strategy, but then we close the loop in people. And because we want to make sure that it's all tied together and you see how it ties together. Product is actually a function of marketing. So we teach that at GSDCon sales, which will be in June, because sales is all encompassing marketing, sales, retention, all product development. That's all part of marketing. The product is marketing.
So when are people seeing this uptick in revenue? $7,000 to $9,000 roughly, so somewhere in there in that first 30 days, right? So when are they seeing that? Is it like if I'm a gym owner, I came to strategy just earlier this month, I'm there. Am I going to see that after strategy? Am I going to see it after people, or am I going to see it after sales? When do I see that?
You'll see it. You'll see it right away. I mean, because here's a cool thing. Most people, the thing that they need to just get done right to see real progress is usually right under their nose, but they're so busy focusing on the same stuff they've been focusing on that they don't see it. It's why nobody can smell their own breath, right?
Yeah.
Like you can't smell your own bad breath. You just it's not able. You're not able to. It's hard. And so when we come in, if let's say you're the gym owner and my team's working with you, you've got one, at least, possibly 3 to 4 low-hanging fruits that if we were to just focus on those things really, really well, it would change things for you. And then we just move on to the next low-hanging fruit. So with some people, we may look at them and we go, this is actually a true story. This happened with somebody maybe about summertime. His name was Oscar. We looked and we're like, you've got 12,000 people in your CRM that have phone numbers and emails that have opted in to work with you, that are within a few miles of your gym. Here's what we're going to do. And boom, inside of one email, we got like 87 leads. We closed like 40 sales, right? Done. We look at another one and we go, you haven't raised pricing in 2 years and your pricing is well below market. Let's raise pricing by 20% on all your members. Now, that freaks them out, right? What if all these people quit? No, then we show them you can mathematically have 30% of your members quit. And this would be a win for you, right? We show them, which would mean this many members, right? So we actually will do the math with them and say, like, look, we can have way more people than you would think would quit. But for the people that went up in price, this is what it does for your revenue and profit. So that by the way, that is the most common thing we do. One of the most first things we do is we raise pricing. Raising pricing strategy. So 4 categories under marketing: product, price, place, promotion. Price, people don't think it's a function of marketing. It absolutely is. And if you get your pricing strategy right to where everyone wants the best thing and it looks like a no-brainer, you just increase profits overnight.
Right.
Overnight. So we'll look at that. Another one, we'll look at them, we say, you guys have 0 referral marketing strategy. None. But your best leads that buy the fastest and spend the most and stay the longest, you say come from referrals, yet you're not doing anything for that. So here's 3 things we're going to do right now to get a minimum of 100 referrals over the next 7 days. Right? So there's just...
What's one of those things? Someone listening to this, I know they're hanging on the edge of their seat. What's one of them?
Oh, I got 3. I'll tell you all 3.
Perfect.
I'll tell you all 3. I don't care. So one of them, well, now the one we focus on most is depending on their current system and what they've got, right? So not everyone's going to get the first thing first. So let's say you're already getting 20, 25 members a month. For you, it's point of sale referrals. We're going to show you how to get 3 to 5 referrals at the point of every sale. Because if you made 20 sales and you got 3 referrals at the end of each one, you just got 60 more referrals for nothing, for free. Those are better than your digital leads because they're referrals. And out of those, you're going to close at least another 20, which means you now doubled your sales without doubling, even adding a cent to your marketing budget. Mm-hmm. And guess what? Those 20 new people, guess what we're going to do again? We're going to ask them for another 3 to 5. We're going to get another 60 referrals. And that never ends. Now, let's say you're only getting like 5 to 10 sales a month. Well, maybe that's not going to be the biggest needle mover for you. But we look at it and you go, yeah, but you do have 150 members. So we're going to do a big refer and receive campaign. And there's things that we do in the lobby that gets people amped up. And that one will get you about 100 referrals in a week.
Really?
That one.
So what's the difference? Because I've seen guys run referral campaigns and they're awful. I've seen people go, we're going to run a referral campaign. And then they do like, tickets, pick a ticket out of this. And
yeah, because it sucks.
Yeah.
It's like anything. It's like, how many people have you known, you met, you know how to work out, right? You're in the industry. You know how to work out. I know how to work out. How many people out of shape come to you and be like, dude, I've tried working out. It just doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
No, it works. Exercising works. Eating right works. You just thought that you could just bench press your way out of this because that's what you did in high school. And you also thought that you could eat enormous amounts of bread as long as it's multigrain, right? And you think you could eat 4 burgers a day as long as you take the bread off, right? So, yeah, I get it. It may not have worked, but it doesn't mean it doesn't work. It means you may not have worked it right, because I'll show you hundreds and hundreds of gyms, and they'll be all in the room with you that'll verify, oh, yeah, that shit works. It works.
What percentage of customers, let's say they got 150 customers, or 100 customers, what percentage of customers on a refer and receive program that you guys do, what percentage come in and actually refer more customers? I'm not going to lie to you and pretend I got that percentage. We don't track that. Okay. We track ultimate end of, like, the end number that we care about. So what we want is 100 referrals in that 7-day period. That's what we want. But again, the reason a percentage doesn't matter to us is because that's not going to be the strategy we use unless it's the best strategy. Right.
So if I look at you and I'm like, dude, you got 220 20 members, we already know the math. You're going to get 100 referrals from that, right? That's it. But if you come to us and you're like, I got 70, we're like, we're not running that play because you may only get like 20, 30, right? So it's not going to work as well. So we'll move to something else. Now, 20 to 30 referrals isn't bad. I'm just saying that we're going to look, there's something better than that, right? So there's not any one thing that we'll do with somebody within the first 30 days or 60 days. And then even then 90 days, we're going to do something different with that person. It is dependent on that person. Here's why. So you heard Dave Berg talk about this on stage. The difference between an expert and a master, right? A consultant and a coach, right? There's differences. An expert, you see them all over your feed. It's here's what I did to grow my gyms to this. Who gives a shit what you did to grow your gyms? The only way that's going to show the same results for me is if I have all the same opportunities, assets, and challenges that you have.
All the variables are the same.
This is why Michael Jordan, he wasn't a master. He was an expert. Nothing wrong with an expert. He was the best expert that ever lived. He was great. He's the greatest basketball player that ever lived to me, but he wasn't a master. And the reason is because for all the years he owned the Charlotte Bobcats, for all the years that he went into those practices to help people develop, he was never able to help any one player be even as considered great, except for one, Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant literally copied all of Michael Jordan's moves, and it worked for him. They're both 6'6" guys with the same wingspan. They're both shooting guards. They both have the same mentality. Oh, look at that. I got fireworks here. For anybody listening, there's fireworks happening on the Zoom. But they're identical. They have so many similarities that, just do what I did and it should work for you. Put the same gas in your car as I have in my car because we have the same car, right? So now the reason Michael Jordan's not a master, but Customato, Mike Tyson's coach, is a master. Greg Popovich, the San Antonio Spurs, is a master. Bill Belichick is a master. It's because they don't say, do what I did. Customato never got to Mike Tyson's level. Not even close. Bill Belichick, one of the greatest coaches in NFL history, never even played a game of NFL or college football. He played lacrosse. Greg Popovich never played in the NBA. He barely played college. So these people, they're not great players. They're great coaches. They're masters of understanding what is your need. Mike Tyson, the way that you fight, your weaknesses and your strengths, here's how we avoid your weaknesses affecting your game negatively, and here's how we capitalize on your strengths so you can get the most out of this ring. And same thing with everybody else. So with us, when we look at gyms, I consider Loud Rumor a master at its craft. I don't consider us experts. We're masters. We're very good at dialing in on you, not saying, here's a system, just follow it. It's a blueprint. Just do what successful people do and you'll be successful. No, that's not true. Okay? You have to go, where are you good? And where are you weak? And how do we find a way to strengthen the weaknesses or not let it be a handicap? And how do we double down on your strengths? And when we can do that, who cares what I did? You may grow your business completely different than I did and still be more successful. That's the difference.
So
that's what we do.
So first of all, I noticed that at GSDCon. I noticed that in your business model. Because I've been at other events and I see the way that some of these programs where they coach, they're a coaching program and they charge a fee monthly for this. And you see this kind of blanket program that they give everyone. They say, okay, here's the program. Everybody follow this and then just keep up. And then let's do some group calls and then, get into whatever group you think fits best for you. There's no refinement by drilling down into the human being, the skills and tools that they have personally, and then recognizing what they have externally around them and how they can hone in on that. So that way they can grow and they can make their business better. I noticed that in what you're doing with your business with Loud Rumor. But then the question is, how much longer can you continue doing that? Because your business model will grow eventually. So either you restrict it and then the price goes up, so you only have X number of people that can get in, which would be a really cool thing, or you just keep growing the number of people and you have to continue, you yourself have to continue adding more experts into the business, which is a harder thing to do. So
Yeah.
how do you see that vision going for Loud Rumor?
The vision isn't about more customers or less customers and more money. The vision is about being the best at what we do, which is helping gym owners get more members, more money, more minutes, right? That's what we care about. And so along the way, we're going to make tweaks. And right now, we feel like the track that we're on with the price point that we have, the people we're bringing on, we feel like we're very, very close. We identified even something today that we probably should stop taking on. We literally just made the decision today that we're not going to take anybody else on in pre-sale in the mastermind. We actually had a pre-sale program within the mastermind, and we just said it's not worth it because we can't identify at all who you are, at all, what your grit is, what your resilience is. We have a minimum of $15,000 per month is what you have to be doing to work with us. And actually, we're about to drive that up to 20, 22 maybe, because we're learning that there are thresholds where people are mentally weak, where people won't do the work, where people won't point the finger at themselves. And we notice that people that are doing 40, 50K and up, they hang around. They always go, what could I have done better? They always say, what do you think I should be doing? They always say, hey, how do you look at this? They're curious. That's the only way you're going to get to that number. You don't trip and fall at 40, 45K. You have to have some level of grit and intelligence to get there. But 15 to 22K, you could have that grit and intelligence and just maybe need that little tweak. We don't know, but you could also just not be showing up. And we don't know what it is sometimes, but we're also wondering, is it worth rolling the dice? So what we're also considering, Michael, is not necessarily raising the price, but maybe increasing the filter and increasing the level of qualification to get into our program. Mm-hmm. Because just like fitness, it works if you work. Customato couldn't get Mike Tyson to where he is if Mike Tyson didn't wake up at 4 a.m. and do that jog and show up to the gym and ready to fight. Mike Tyson wanted to win. He wanted to be a champion. Customato can work with that. But the guy at LA Fitness that hits the bag every once in a while in the aerobic room, and sometimes he's motivated, sometimes he's not, Customato can't help him. There's nothing you can do with that guy. Right? You can get him a little better sometimes, and he'll fall back down. So you got to have the right mindset. And so we're looking right now for the filters as to how do we ensure that we're rolling the dice very, very carefully so that we can almost be certain that the people that are coming into our program, we can help get them where they need to go because they've got everything they need up here.
And maybe
I can't want them to be more successful than they do.
And maybe that's another program that you roll out down the road, right? A tiered program, a stepper to get them into the next one.
I'm not Tony Robbins. I can't pretend I am. That's him. That's his thing. And he's great at it, right? And he's been doing it for 30, 40 years to the point where he can help you better and charge you less, right? Because he's built systems around it. So that's what they do. I would have to put in 20 to 30 years like he did in order to be that good. But what I will tell you is for right now, they got it up here. We can help them. If they want to, Mike Tyson wanted to be more successful than Customato wanted him to be successful. Michael Jordan wanted to be more successful than Phil Jackson wanted him to be successful. That's the way it works. And so our members that are doing great in our program, they want to be more successful than we want them to be successful. And keep in mind, we really want them to be successful. So when that's in play, we're good. Everything works.
Awesome. Mike, I appreciate you jumping on again today. And, for those of you listening, February 17th to the 18th, Hyatt Regency, Austin, Texas is the next GSDCon people. And you can go to gsdcon.com and find out more about that. Mike, where else can they hit you up? Where can they find you?
They can search Loud Rumor on Instagram. We're very responsive there, or me personally, Mike Arce Live. And for those of you that confuse my middle name, it's ARCE. So Mike Arce Live on Instagram.
Awesome. Thanks again, Mike. We'll talk soon.
Thank you, sir.